Ever walked through a beautiful German city, admired the historic architecture, and then saw someone sitting on the sidewalk asking for spare change? It can be a bit surprising, right? Germany is one of the richest countries in the world, with a strong social safety net. So, why are there beggars on the streets? It's a question many visitors and even locals ask, and the answer is a lot more complex than you might think. Today, we're going to dive deep into this issue, exploring the laws, the reasons, and the human stories behind begging in Germany. Stick around, because what we uncover might change the way you see things. First off, let's clear up a common misconception. Is begging illegal in Germany? The short answer is no, but with some very important exceptions. What's generally allowed is something called Stillsbetteln, which translates to silent or humble begging. This is when a person sits quietly with a cup or a sign, not actively bothering anyone. They aren't blocking pathways, they aren't shouting, and they aren't following people. In the eyes of the law, this is largely tolerated. The German Constitution protects personal freedom, and the act of peacefully asking for help is seen as a part of that. So that person you see sitting quietly near a train station isn't breaking the law. However, the situation changes dramatically when begging becomes aggressive or organized. This is where the law draws a firm line. Aggressive begging is a big no-no. This includes things like physically touching someone, persistently following them, shouting, or making them feel intimidated or unsafe. Imagine trying to walk down a busy street while someone is constantly in your face, demanding money. That's not allowed, and police can intervene, issue fines, or order the person to leave the area. The idea is to protect public order and ensure people can go about their day without being harassed. Another major red flag for authorities is begging that involves children. It is strictly illegal to use children to beg in Germany. This is seen as a form of child endangerment and exploitation. The well-being of the child is the absolute top priority. If police see an adult begging with a child, they will step in immediately. The concern is not only for the child's immediate health and safety, being out in all weather, missing school, but also for the long-term psychological impact. This rule is enforced very strictly, and the consequences for the adults involved can be severe. Then we have the darkest side of this issue, organized begging. This is where things get really serious and cross over into major criminal activity. We're talking about criminal gangs, often operating internationally, that force people into begging. These are not individuals down on their luck. They are victims of human trafficking. The gangs recruit vulnerable people, often from poorer European countries, with false promises of jobs and a better life. Once in Germany, their passports are taken, and they are forced to beg on the streets for long hours, with all the money they collect going to the gang leaders. They are controlled through threats, debt bondage, and even violence against them or their families back home. German police and federal agencies treat this as a form of modern slavery and actively work to dismantle these criminal networks. When you hear about police raids on begging gangs, this is the exploitation they are targeting. It's a brutal business that preys on the desperate and profits from the compassion of passers-by. So, if Germany has such a robust welfare system, why do people end up on the streets in the first place? This is the heart of the matter. The social support system, with unemployment benefits, housing assistance, and health insurance, is designed to catch people. But some individuals fall through the cracks for a variety of reasons. One major factor is homelessness. While shelters exist, some people avoid them due to strict rules, overcrowding, or fears for their safety. Mental health issues and substance abuse can also be significant barriers. A person struggling with severe addiction or a psychological disorder might find it incredibly difficult to navigate the bureaucracy required to get social benefits. They may be unable to fill out forms, keep appointments, or comply with the requirements of the system. There are also those who, for personal reasons, choose to live outside the system. They might have a deep distrust of government institutions or simply value their independence above all else, even if it means a life of extreme hardship on the streets. It's a choice that can be hard for many of us to understand, but it's a reality for a small number of people. We also have to consider the situation for some immigrants, particularly from other EU countries like Romania and Bulgaria. While EU citizens have the right to live and work in Germany, finding a job can be tough without the right language skills, qualifications, or local network. Some face discrimination and end up in precarious situations. For some communities, like some Roma people, systemic poverty and a history of marginalization in their home countries can push them to seek opportunities elsewhere. And begging becomes a means of survival when other doors are closed. They may not be eligible for the full range of German social benefits, leaving them in a legal and financial gray area. Different cities in Germany also have their own local rules, or Sondernutzungsrecht. In Munich, for example, there are designated zones in the city center where begging is completely banned, especially in the main pedestrian shopping areas. They use a color-coded map to show where it's allowed and where it isn't. Berlin, on the other hand, tends to be a bit more liberal, but will still crack down on aggressive begging or begging in front of building entrances. These local regulations are an attempt to balance compassion with public order. Cities often pair these rules with outreach programs, where social workers go out and try to connect people on the streets with services like shelters, medical care, and addiction counseling. The goal isn't just to move people along, but to offer them a pathway off the street. So, what does this all mean for you? If you're walking down a German street and see someone asking for money, it's a personal decision. Some people choose to give a small amount of cash or buy the person some food. They see a fellow human being in need and want to offer immediate help. Others prefer not to give money directly, worried it might fuel addiction or end up in the hands of an organized gang. They might choose to donate to established charities and organizations that provide comprehensive support, like shelters, food banks, and counseling services. These organizations, like the Bahnhofs Mission at train stations or local Tafel food banks, are experts in providing sustained help. There is no single right or wrong answer. The key is to be aware of the complexities. The person sitting quietly might genuinely be someone who has fallen on hard times and needs help to get through the day. But the possibility of exploitation is also real. The German system tries to combat the criminal side of begging while allowing for a degree of compassion. It recognizes that poverty, homelessness, and desperation are real problems that don't just disappear, even in a wealthy country. The presence of beggars is a visible reminder of the gaps that still exist in our society. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about poverty, social inclusion, and our own responsibility to one another. To sum it all up, begging in Germany is a multifaceted issue. It's not illegal in its simplest form, but it is heavily regulated to prevent harassment, child exploitation, and criminal trafficking. The reasons people beg are deeply personal and varied, ranging from homelessness and addiction to falling through the cracks of the social system or being a victim of organized crime. Cities try to manage the situation with a mix of rules and social outreach. While the welfare state provides a strong safety net, it doesn't catch everyone, and begging remains a visible reality in urban centers. It's a complex social issue with no easy solutions, one that reflects the ongoing challenges of poverty and inequality in the modern world. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive. I hope this gave you a better understanding of the situation. What are your thoughts on this? Have you had experiences with this in Germany or elsewhere? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. See you in the next one.